number one, thank you very much for like having this conversation with me. I
Of
really
course.
appreciate it. I'm here to learn a lot from you. And like my first question really, Lisa, is just like introduce yourself.
Well, it depends. I mean, if somebody was to ask me to introduce myself, I would
Hmm.
say, yes, I'm Lisa Patel. I'm the president of Toronto Regional Real Estate Board. But I am also a child of Course in Miracles, so I don't actually believe in titles.
Hmm.
I believe that I'm a soul. And it's funny because last week I just tried to explain to the CEO of TRREB, I
Hmm.
said, this is the difference between me and a lot of other people, John, is
Hmm.
I'm a colorful butterfly. I'm here with purpose, and I'm here and I live with that intention every single day. So in order to understand me, you have to understand that I come with a purpose and that I'm very driven to fulfill my purpose in this lifetime.
Hmm. Okay, so this drive, where would you say this started? What did that look like with little Lisa Patel?
Oh my goodness, you're so funny. Since I was a kid,
Hmm.
I was born and raised by entrepreneur parents,
Hmm.
and they themselves have this same streak in them.
Hmm.
And I mean, they ran 18 different businesses across Ontario. In fact, I mean, 50 years ago, when Canada allowed people of color to come into the country, they came. They got married and they looked at each other and said, let's leave England and come here.
Hmm.
And they knew nobody. And I mean, being married, I mean, my mom took a job as a nurse in Manitoba
Hmm.
or Edmonton, and my dad took a job in Montreal, and then they made their way to Toronto, and then raised four kids, and then decided to hop from motel, hotel, department store, convenience store. They were fashion designers. They owned the Toronto Argonaut T-shirt factory in the 70s. They did everything. So
Hmm.
growing up with crazy entrepreneurs is what I call them. They're not serial entrepreneurs. I know
Hmm.
that people keep changing names and like, there's the mommy groups, there's the mommypreneurs, there's the seniorpreneur, there's this. They were just entrepreneurs.
Hmm.
And that's the term that I described them as, and they were just dynamic and aggressive, and I call my mother the brains of the operation, and my father the ideas.
Hmm.
And then a couple of years ago, Ryerson, or a couple of years back, Ryerson got hold of me.
Hmm.
I'm also a grad of Ryerson,
Hmm.
and so they loved my background and asked, "Can we use you in our textbooks?"
Hmm.
And McGraw-Hill reached out and said, "Can we put you in our textbooks? We
Hmm.
want to use you as an example because 1 in 4 children of entrepreneur parents
Hmm.
become an entrepreneur."
Yeah.
And so going back to my childhood, I was already working in the
Hmm.
business. Like my parents had a motto, it was, and a lot of things that I don't believe in today based on experiences. But,
Hmm.
it was like, you want something in this country, you got to go make it happen.
Hmm.
And you got to go work for it, and you got to go prove yourself and go do everything you can.
Hmm.
And so it was just, that was already cycled in. And
Hmm.
then, of course, we had the business operations because every business that they had, whether it was motels or hotels, we were cleaning them. They were like, "Oh no, there's no free ride, honey. You're gonna, you're gonna go clean those toilets too. You're gonna go make those beds." So that's the one thing I can tell you is I know how to
Hmm.
make beds, is because I had to do it since I was a kid.
Hmm.
And
Maybe you can teach me.
well, I don't know. Maybe mine is too old school now. I don't know.
You're the one that would bounce the quarter off the bed, aren't you? You're one of those people. They're perfect.
Uh,
Your beds
I
are
don't know
perfect.
about that. Like you got to be organized, right? It function. Everything's got
Uh-huh.
to function. Otherwise,
Mhm.
mentally, I feel disarrayed.
Yeah.
Um, but and then as a kid, growing up in the business operations, I remember being a kid and going to school and saying, "I need to make money.
Mhm.
How am I gonna make money?" Right? And I was like, "Oh, okay." I watched I'm the second out of four, so I was
Mhm.
like, "Oh, I got an idea," because my parents were very open with us. With when we had department stores and convenience stores and all those things, they
Yeah.
let us have whatever we wanted.
Mhm.
And so I said, I'm going to take that wrapping paper and
Mhm.
all those bubble gums, and I would pack them in my bag, go to
Mhm.
school the next day, and I was like, "All right, who's in? Here's my pocketbook. What do you want? What kind of gum you want? What kind of candy? I
Wow.
got it." And I started making money, and then I started hustling into the
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
wrapping paper business,
Uh-huh.
and I got my sister involved. I'm like, "How would you like to make some money?" And she's like, "Yeah, okay, all right, we're gonna sell gift wrap, and this is gonna work." And people would buy it from us, and we would
Uh-huh.
sell it for a discounted price. And we opened up this business and made it happen, and it didn't stop there. I still did the the paper route. I was doing that for a while until a bunch of kids in the neighborhood were like, oh, let's just take the goods and get rid of this job. And I was like, you're right. So it was just a combination. And then I was just very drawn to humanity. And I mean, one of the areas that my dad always educated us on was also politics. So politics was very close to my heart. We were involved with, local riding associations and all that stuff since we were kids. And, so being involved in campaigns and giving back to community was a big thing that my parents came with. When, my grandfather was an entrepreneur, and everything is always about humanity. And he did everything that he gave in his business was given back to community. Like he built churches, he built temples, he was just that man. And I feel like out of 23 grandchildren, and I don't know how many great grandchildren, I feel like I have my grandfather's spirit with me. That I was that soul that was given a lot of his qualities of, that business person, but that's here for the social justice, social peace, all of those things, that everything that relates back to what we give into this world. And so I think it's been engraved in my roots, and consciously coming into this world, I think that it was part of who I am. When I was in my teenage years, I wasn't thinking about, other things. I was thinking about, all right, what footprints am I going to put into this world? What footprints am I going to put into this world? And, high school and all of those things, I was, when we got into high school, I was running for grade 9 counselor. And when I lost, I was like devastated. So I was like, okay, I'm going to join the drama committee. I'm going to do this. And then I decided that, I don't want to be at this school. I want to be at another school. So I left a uniform school and decided that I'm going to go to another whole other school. And I did. And that's when I became the social convener for the school. And I was teaching about multiculturalism. I was writing for the school newspaper on multiculturalism. I was doing everything. I was on everything there is in high school, whatever committee, board. I was like, hands up, I'm in. All right. And then on top of it, I was working part-time, plus helping my parents in their business. And it was already in my system. And then when I got into my 20s, it was like, all right, my footprints I got to go faster. Like that's when I started. I ran in politics. And then I lost, and I was devastated, and I freaked out people because I was running, and I was just on this mission that, I got to change things because it's not right. And then I lost, I took a step back, and other doors opened for me. So I took those avenues. Like I sat on the land division board. I sat on all kinds of committees, like everything is related to community. And then from there, it was just, I ran back in politics. We think one was enough, but no.
I'm curious though, but now it makes sense why you decided to run for TRREB. But at what point, when did you decide to throw real estate into your entrepreneurship goals?
So that was all by accident, but there is no accident. So everything, I always call people come into your life in disguise as guides, and are always taking you to that next point. And if they're not here for a lesson, then there's guides that are in disguise that are here to bring you to somewhere else. And so what happened was I was in the mortgage industry in the early 2000s, and I started my own. No, what happened is I left the banks, and I met these people that I became friends with, and who said, we're going to open up a mortgage company, and we'd like you to join us and be partners. Yeah. I was like, okay. And they had a real estate branch associated, and I was helping recruit, but I wasn't doing anything on the real estate side. And one day, I stepped into the office, and one of them looked at me and said, Lisa, I'm going to do, I have a suggestion for you. And I'm like, okay, here's a check. Go get your real estate license.
Wow.
Better at real estate than mortgages. And I didn't even have any thought of ever real estate in my thoughts. It was that was my brother's desire, not mine. And so that's where it led. And I went and did my courses. And at the end of finishing that, my business partners at the time, and I thanked them wholeheartedly, but I just said, my soul is not here, and that it's at another company, and I have to go. And I thank you, for opening those doors for me. And so if it wasn't for them, then I wouldn't be here today. Yeah. And then in that journey of real estate, here's the crazy twist. so I had another disguise moment. You know, I in my brokerage community, I'm with a big brokerage, and I was just as nutty as I am in real life, like involved, you know, always creating momentum. I put up decorations. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows that for the last 12 years, I've always put up decorations in the mm-hmm. office to change the momentum, change the energy. Because I do have an event planning background that, that I don't share with a lot of people too, because I was doing that at one point. And so what happened was, and then I always fundraise and all those things. So I just said, I just remember being in my office and saying, you know, I need something else. Like, this is great. I've done this for so many years. I need something more. Like, even with all of my past volunteer work, it was like, I need something else. I've done this. It was like, my greatest one, I will tell you, was being a big sister. For Big Brother, Big Sister. If anyone ever has
that so much. Oh my God, I want to do that so bad.
So truth be told, like, I will never have children. You know, to all those yummy mummies and everybody else out there, like, that have children, like, bless your souls. But I knew that my path in life wasn't to be a mother, and maybe I am in another life. I don't know. But I knew that I was here on a different mission. I call it a universal child. A universal child. I studied a lot of astrology and all of these things, and it was part of my upbringing too. So when we were kids, when we were born, there's a time that we were born, my parents, we had a priest at the time that we were born, who said, based on their time and birth, that their letter should be L, for example, for me. So that's when my mother was like, I like Lisa for her. And that's how I was born. It was all based on my time and all that. So all of that was engulfed in me since I was a kid. And then my dad had our charts made when I was a kid. And in one of my charts as a child, I'll never forget, it was this big green book, and it was full of all kinds of stuff. But we moved so many times that I probably don't have it anymore. And in there was all about my time of birth and my purpose. So I was given my purpose as a child. And in there it said, you're a universal child. And a universal child is brought into the world, not to change it, but to shape it. And so I knew that I already had been given something that I was meant to pursue. And then it was just like even becoming a vegetarian as a kid, all of those things were by choice. Nobody put it in me. I was like, nope, I'm doing that. I'm doing that.
Wow, that's actually really impressive, but it shows that you kind of know yourself very well. So it makes sense that you would do really well in this position. Now,
I don't know. I account for it that I've spent a lot of time, excuse me, I tell this to the CEO all the time. I said, I spent a lot of my real estate career partying with so many realtors around the world. You gotta enjoy, right?
That's not a bad thing at all. So a little bit more about the role. What exactly does that look like in like a day being president?
You know what? So stepping into the shoes as a president of TRREB, I already knew that I had big shoes to fill. So going back, I got onto the board back in 2015. I was the youngest person on that board. And so today I'm very proud of our organization because I'm the part of the breakthrough. And that's really what I call my lifeline has been. It's just been me pushing to open doors for generations and generations of people to come. Because if I didn't do this, well, then today I wouldn't be the 10th woman in 100 years, the sixth minority, a sixth person of color in 100 years, and of course the second woman of color ever in 100 years. So I think that everything was already set for me. I just had to be willing and ready to be aligned to what was already set in stone. And when I think about my role today, I looked at a lot of previous years of sitting on the board and looking at president. And if you asked me when I got on the board 2015, I never had a desire to be president. You know, I was like, first I got on there, I was like, oh my God, what did I sign myself up for? I must be crazy or something. And they were talking stuff that I never heard of, because when you're in the real estate game and you're the realtor and you're in the real estate scape, you don't know anything about organized real estate. It's a whole other world of information. And you're sitting there going, what are they talking about? I'm just trying to get caught up. And then finally you get caught up and you're like understanding more, and then and then you're looking around, and I'm watching, I looked at and observed the presidents of the past, and I was just like, yeah, that's a lot of work. And I was just more happy just being on the board and being part of the whole organized aspect. And then when a couple of years in, somebody looked at me, I call it another guide in disguise. And he said, Lisa, you could do this. You should run for president. And, and then my psyche has to take this all in. I was like, okay, yeah, okay, what are you saying? And he's like, you could beat Michael, take it. And I was just like, I had to digest this, and I had to intuitively go, I need to meditate and feel this out. And, so I had to take a moment back and sit back and say, oh my gosh, can I really do this? And is this really what's meant for me, or is there something else? What's going to serve the highest good? And then my soul gave me a connection that I had to do this. So I didn't understand why, but it gave me the green light. And when I felt it intuitively, I said, okay, let's do this. So that's when I was like, I went out to all of our functions and events, and it was like, yeah, I'm running for president. I'm running for president. And I put together, because I ran in politics, I have a lot of strategy on how you do campaigns. So I put together my campaign, and having run for the board, it's all about campaigns. And so I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this. We're going to go hard. I put my whole soul into this in every aspect. And when I lost, I was devastated. It broke my heart. On levels that people will never understand, because I not only intuitively felt it, I spent every day putting a little energy work into it, and meditation, and doing the work, reaching out, making the phone calls every day, like sitting on the phone morning to night, calling realtors, calling broker owners, calling managers, really, and just constantly putting together a list of people and showing up at places, got the whole 9 yards. And it took a step back, and on top of it, when you lose 2 election campaigns politically to the public, it's a lot to swallow in your soul. Especially putting yourself fully out there in every element. So, it took me back to the election campaigns in my soul, because I was like, oh, that was a hard loss then. And then again, and now here we are for the third time, another loss. And so, you have to take a moment and breathe and reevaluate, where you are, and regroup into you being you again. And so that just led me to, more soul work, and that's where my soul needed to be. And then I had somebody contact me and say, hey, can you meet me for lunch? And I said, sure. And he said, Lisa Patel, you need to run for president. And I was like, oh God, we're going back to this again. And so I said, I don't know, I have to think about it. I said, it took me a long time to put energy into all of that work. And so I couldn't make up my mind. I was and normally I can read, like, as an energy healer. So my background is that I do a lot of healing work for people all the time. So I do energy work. And so having to have had I couldn't read my own soul. And I was flustered, and I'm going back and forth every day. And so then finally I call him a spiritual teacher in Hawaii. I said, Alan, I need your help. I can't read my heart. And so he took me through one meditation, and just like that, instant, I felt it, he felt it, and the answer was yes. So he took me through a meditation, and we asked my soul whether I was supposed to run for president again. He said, and it came out so clear, like we both felt the impact, and we were like, he said, you know what you need to do, and I said, So the next day I walked into my office, and I looked at my assistant and said, drop everything. We're going campaign, and we're going hard, and get ready. And so business, all of that didn't matter anymore. It was like, we got to do this campaign, and we had to go hard. And then of course we found out last minute that somebody else decided to run against me. And so I always say intentions are always so important, right? And when your intention is for the greater good and it's beyond yourself, everything is on side. everything flows with it.
I can understand that.
And are you gonna share your example?
No, they know.
Okay.
They know,
right.
But I explicitly I can say I felt the same thing too. And the only thing that was my concern when I started the association was, if I don't do it, who will? And if I allow someone else to do it, will they, do it justice, right? So I couldn't, it wouldn't allow me to let it go. So that's when I think I found a purpose that was bigger than me. So thank you for sharing that. I really do. I understand where you're
and here you are, right? Look at it. Here you are, you're growing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you established relationships within it.
Mm-hmm.
And how do I know that? Because Charlene tells us all the time.
And now speaking to you, honestly, it makes a lot of sense why she speaks so well of you too. So I really appreciate her for actually saying,
"Oh my God, I'm gonna tear up."
Yeah, she's pay attention to Lisa. I'm like, okay, all right, if you say so. And now I'm like, I told you earlier, I was reading Lisa's bio and I was like, who's this woman? Why haven't I met her before? I'm impressed by people who think.
Dude, I love you. Oh my gosh, I can't wait till we get to see each other again.
I love people who are very community minded, and especially when they're women and they're driven. Obviously, because I'm a woman, I like to see women excel. Men do well too, but I mean, it's just nice to see driven people and community minded people, because I think for significant change to happen, it's not going to happen with an individual. Individuals are great. I love people who are motivated and they go and they do their thing without, any encumbrances, anybody behind them. That's fine. Do that. Continue doing that. I love you for doing that. But you're going to need more people behind you, right? We all need each other, and we need to, I guess, be more open to creating our community, making our community stronger, period. Doesn't matter which community you're in, just,
Well, you speaking of which, so I laughed in your message when you said East Indian. I'm like, oh my God, I haven't heard that term, right? And in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was funny because Charlene and I had a call yesterday, because I do this little check-in with people all the time. And I said to her, there was one thing that really bothered me about that diversity survey. And I said, you had to distinguish what your background was. And I'm like, well, if I'm brown, I'm brown. At the end of the day, who cares what I am? I'm just a soul here doing what I need to do. Why do you have to distinguish whether I'm east, west, north, south?
That is a whole other level. I'd love to have that conversation with you too.
Agreed. But going back to your point, so this is where mindset comes in, right? Mm-hmm. Because every single day of our lives, right, we were given a gift to be brought into the most intelligent form of living, which is the human being. Mm-hmm. And we are only here for two purposes: to love and to serve. Oh. And until you come to that conclusion and realization that this is your life, is love and serve, then you can work with every aspect of your being through those elements. And that's what I think of my lifetime here in this world is. It's all been about love and serve. And that's every element. There's so much more background and history of things that I did and for communities all over. And I just look back and a lot of it's also gone now, because it's just been one thing after the next, right? But that's where the intentions have to come from, is I'm here to love and I'm here to serve. How may I serve? One of the words I say every single day, the minute that I get up, is thank you for another day. Thank you for another breath. Now, and then I say, universe, guides, angels, masters, divine, where would you have me go today? What would you have me do today? What would you have me say? To whom? Guide and light my path.
We definitely have to have a conversation.
And then I feel like everything else is given to me. I feel like God, source, universe, whatever you believe in, angels, guides, whatever it is guiding you all day long.
Yeah.
And even with speech and what's to be said, I didn't practice anything for you today. Everything is fresh from source to me to you.
to them when they get it. And honestly,
I'm gonna be so embarrassed at that point.
no, not at all. You shouldn't be. And you sound a lot like me in that you're very open about the things that are important to you, which is great. I really appreciate that. That open honesty, no BS. Like let's just be ourselves, and that's
and it's like that word authentic. I no longer use it because I feel like it's been chopped up and recycled to suit people whenever they think that it's best. And I just say live your truth. Live your truth of who you are and who you came from, what your purpose in this world. Don't try to do anything else. And I just like all of these words, like even when we think about real woman, real lives, real stories, and that chapter of Women in Real Estate Task Force that we created, when I sat back with staff and we were going through names and cycles, and I said, listen, I already had something planned a year ago that said, real women, real lives, real stories. So they took it and they loved it. And then the concept, but the problem is they wanted to use authentic. I'm like, no. I said, this does not feel right in the soul. And you would know, you just know. And so I said, it's got to be truth. It's got to be all about truth, because I said, people are monopolizing words and words have such a big vibration. And I said, it's all got about, speaking from your truth, living your truth, being your truth. And I think that's why I think I connect with a lot of people, is because I'm as real as you are.
Yeah.
There's no fakeness in me and in any ounce of my bones. I call a spade, a rock, and we go. And if you can't handle that, then you're not welcome into my vibration at the moment. And maybe you will one day.
To be honest, I don't think it makes a lot of sense, communicating on like the surface level all the time. You just say what is true, say what comes to you, and we'll just let the universe, deal with it.
And that's why I said, like, source gives it to you. You call for it, it's given to you. You are speaking it. So you're already, and you were born from love. So speak from love, right? Act from love. And the one thing that people don't do is they go through love and fear all day long, right? Love, fear, and it's ask yourself, am I coming from a place of love, or am I coming from a place of fear? But you did ask a question going back to the president. I don't even know, we got like all over the place, but to the president. So from observing other presidents, and you know what, here's the problem. Because I came from a different setting where I had a lot of presidents that didn't tell me what goes on in their lives or didn't share what to expect. So when I got elected as president-elect, I didn't go anywhere for that first year because I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be called on. I don't know what to expect. Nobody gives you an itinerary or anything. And you just go in. So I was doing background work. I was already working behind the scenes, making sure that I had relationships across Ontario. I was already working behind the scenes on getting special guest speakers. I didn't even tell the CEO until after Realtor Quest. So I was already doing my thing behind the scenes with nobody knowing. And then I was already planning out my year based on what was in front of me. So I was like, okay, you know what? I need to check. I need all these things in here. I need to connect Ontario. I need to connect TRREB to the world. I need to connect this. And all of those things that I even had put on my election campaigns that I didn't even realize that that I can actually say we did it. And we just didn't physically do it in the sense of hopping on a plane and doing it, but that's okay. And so being in this role, and even the hardest thing was we were in COVID. Like, I took over July 1st, 2020. We were in COVID, and nobody tells you what to expect. July 1st comes in, and you're like, okay, now what happens?
Yeah,
I have no clue. And then all of a sudden, you're days before July 1st, you're like, hey, can you do a video and send it to us? Because we're in COVID. We can't move anywhere. We can't do anything. Can you send us a video and do greetings for Canada Day? And I'm like, what? All right, okay. So, so I got somebody on my team to help me out and do the very first video. It was for the city of Toronto. And we're doing Canada Day, July 1st greetings. And you know what? I'm going to live the part. I'm not just going to go give you a couple words. So of course I decked myself out. I got to put on a Canada t-shirt. I got the hat going, and I laugh because I sit back and I'm looking at all of these images from like the beginning of my term till now. And I was like, no, I want to, I want full feel, be, do, right? You got to be in the whole full vibration. So put it on. I don't think anyone's ever had a president that's done like to that level. And so it's like, you know what, we're going to put it on. We're going to do the video, sent it in. And then you just don't know what's next. Like you got board meetings, you've got to pick out committees for people. You've got all of these things going on. So there was a lot of unexpected.
So, okay, given your experience now, like what would you advise anyone who's considering, running for president or being a part of any committee? Like what was a significant thing that you learned?
So committees is a different aspect. I always say give back to your association 100%. Get involved. Every committee is so different. And to anybody that's interested in the future, listen, we're not going to stop Diversity and Inclusion Task Force. We're not going to stop Women in Real Estate Task Force. So when I officially end next year as the immediate past president, I will say this.
Up on the wall at TRREB.
What I will say is this is, get involved with those. I want somebody that's going to want to, I want to make sure that, we took engagement levels. I'm going to share this. It's going to be announced next week at the AGM, but I don't know all the full stats because I haven't been given them, but they wouldn't share that with me. So it'd be a surprise to me too. But we took engagement level this year up 60%.
That's amazing.
So if that tells you the level of energy and drive, and trust me, I drive them crazy.
Yeah.
Right. I remember being in a board meeting and the CEO was like, Lisa's crazy. And everybody starts laughing, right? I'm like, oh my God, now it makes all sense, right? And he said, let me revise that. She's crazy, full of energy. And I'm like, this is true. Yes. So, it's like, you know what, you are all beautiful beings here to share in your greatness and do. If this is what touches your soul and you feel called to do it, don't let it go. And if you lose, it's okay. There's no losers in this world. It just means that it wasn't that time, but that the universe and a guide, soul, whatever it is, guides have something else coming. And just be open and ready for it. And when I say ready, it's you can never be ready for anything, but you will be called and you will know because you will feel it in every core of your being.
I'm curious too, the losses, let's say they're losses. I like to call them experience. But you likely learned a lot from them, didn't you?
They were really hard. When I think back, I even had police officers on my campaign, and God bless one of their souls because one of them passed away. But I look back, I just had so many people that I didn't even know that just wanted to be involved in my campaigns back then. And I think about how much energy and effort we were, mounting signs every night and fixing signs and walking and knocking on doors. I remember coming to the office one day and a friend who's a realtor looked at me and I'm carrying all these bags and I'm walking and she's like, oh my God, Patel, are you going to break? And I'm like, what? and it was just because, you spent 6 hours door knocking.
Yeah.
And then you're coming in to do your business and try to get stuff done quickly and then hop on the road. And it was just a combination. So when I look back, yeah, I was busy. Do I regret any of it? No. I'm so blessed and thankful for those experiences. Just like my upbringing, I'm so blessed and thankful that I got a taste of, entrepreneurial parents that in fact, I have to give you a joke. So when I became an entrepreneur, my dad looked at me and he was like, are you crazy? You're going to be an entrepreneur? Oh no. He's like, no, go get a job with a paycheck. And it was so funny. And I'm like, I looked at him like, excuse me, crazy, you're looking at the next crazy too. You did it, and now I'm doing it. It was just the funniest expression that I'll never forget. And thinking about, like, you know, losing in those campaigns, and just look at it, you know what? I needed those taste of those things because the universe had something bigger for my calling. And that this is just the beginning to something even bigger.
See, this leads me to my next question. So what do you think is in line for you next? Like, what are you hoping for yourself after this?
Okay, so I've asked all sorts to share with me what that is. I always took this, you know, like even the CEO and I, when I was in my president-elect days, you know, him and I have a great relationship because when I started with TRREB, he was the new CEO, and I mean, not as the board of director, but as a volunteer. And so I met him many years ago, and unfortunately, we have a great relationship that we talk about anything. And I remember him looking at me and saying, "This is not your greatest legacy to the world." And I said, "I know that." And he said, "Good. I just want to make sure you know you're aware." And I said, "It's a stepping stone to something bigger." And that's what I've taken it. But I've taken this I've inhaled this as every core of my being, that I was here to serve the people and that I must do the right things for the people. And if I didn't, then I don't know when that breakthrough would have ever happened.
Yeah.
And when I say that breakthrough, I mean for everything. I mean, I'm talking for people of color, I'm talking for generations, I'm talking for age, all of those things. And so when I say the next thing, I don't know. I feel so called, having had the opportunity to speak to so many people. You know, I've had realtors ask me, and so kind and sweet, that if I decide to run back in politics, that they'll back me up in any way.
Whoa.
So,
oh my God, yeah, we will. After this.
So there's that, and then the CEO is really adorable too, because he's like, you need your own show, because I think I amuse everybody on Instagram. So if you don't follow my channels, but my channels are pretty funny. I try to do as much as I possibly can, with still being, you know, keeping morale and all of the professionalism in, but with a little spice and fun. Right? You got to add a little spice and nice, right? And I think that's also there's that aspect of personality that goes into it. You know, you when you become whatever you take on in this world, whether it be a realtor, you know, like, you know, the real estate game is a wonderful thing. You know, it gives us so many wonderful elements, from the people that we meet, to the people that we serve, to the communities that we get to help and build and be part of, and look back and say, oh my gosh, do you remember one day, like, that was just a bunch of houses, and now, like, you know, look at it today. Like, there's so many different out there. But when you think about it, you know, there's a different mindsets too. And I think I spent the last 2 years more than anything vicariously living through realtors. So I not only watch, observe, I just take everything in, and energetically I also can pick up on vibrations. And so what it led me to, like, I'm so proud of you guys. Like, every single day, the material that you guys put out there, you make me laugh. Like, I sit laughing at my own, but like, you guys make me laugh. And the things that some of them come up with, right? So when I go on to media and stuff, I'm just like, I love them. They do a phenomenal job. And I said, if there's anybody that understands marketing, I mean, the levels of marketing that have come out in this business is to another extent. And I don't even know where I'm going with this anymore, but I just can tell you, you come into these roles that you're given with so much love and pride, you know, and appreciation for the people that make it happen. That's going to make me melt. I am totally going to be teared up today. Okay.
Honestly, I'm really appreciative of the time you've taken to, like, have this conversation with us. Really, just having this conversation alone, knowing that it's possible, because I think, you know, as a board, we really don't have a lot of people going out to vote. And I think there is a bit of a mystery behind, like, what happens, you know, at these levels. And this is definitely something that's going to have people, you know, asking questions now, and maybe we'll see even more engagement than, you know, what you were able to do, which is fantastic. Right.
You know what? I will tell you, you're absolutely right. So our numbers came in for volunteer applications, and we broke records.
Yeah.
And so I'm not, and even with the board interest, you know, prior to coming onto this conversation with you, I just had a call with the CEO, and I was telling him, like, I said, you know, the mentality before was a lot of an older generation, and not that we're stopping older generation. Listen, like, we we need a good mix in order to understand society and to understand our worlds, to understand the different walks, right? But I am so impressed by the generations now that are, you know, not only proud to be a realtor, but also so interested in getting involved and on the organized real estate side. And it's so filling to see. And I think that ultimately, I will share this, that on the director side, when you get elected to the board, you're probably going to be just as lost as confused. You know, your first year, you might just stay so quiet because you have no clue what's going on, and you're just trying to get caught up.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of information that takes place, and there's a lot of things to expect. I mean, you know, there's the great aspects of it, you know, celebrating like 100 years and all those things, and then there's the other elements, like, oh, this is what's happening, you know, what are we going to do to help our members? And, you know, there's a little bit of board protectionism. What are we going to do to break those walls? All of those elements. And you're on top of the issues that you would never know that exist behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But once you get your feet wet a little longer, then I will tell you, there is so much opportunity to expand and fly. And when you get the opportunity to come into this seat, and you have some people that behind you that trust and love you and believe in you, you will go to all new lengths. You know, like I sometimes say to the CEO, I'm like, you know, I speak to staff every single day. He's like, I totally trust you.
Yeah. Thank you, Lisa. I really appreciate the message, and thank you for even carving out that time.
I probably have like given you too much of I don't need love stuff you don't even need.
No, you know what? No. Honestly, just in having this conversation, there's a significant benefit, right? Because like I said, before today, I'm sorry to say this, I had never read the TRREB's president's, you know, memo to the people. I was like, oh, okay. I still have to do my work. I still have to run my business. I don't understand why it is that I need to read this. And now that I have, and I've met you, I'm like, wow, this is really something to pay attention to. And I think more people will do that as well. Yeah, no, and especially if I don't know the others. I can't say how great or how not great they were. But no, this definitely needed to happen. And I'm really elated that it was with you.
Well, I'm really excited for you. I don't even know if I'm allowed to share this piece yet. When is this going? When is this airing? When is this airing?
I'll air it after the announcement.
Okay. So on that note, congratulations. So I'm going to share with you truth, because we talked about truth. So I nominated you, and in that form it said, did you tell the person? I'm like, no. I said, yeah, I lied. I'm admitting I lied. I said yes, because I put in a lot of nominations. I said, I actually even told TRREB this last year, I said, in a year that has been an injustice to every single person out there, and that humanity has been hit on every level, the one thing that we can do is acknowledge people to another level. So normally we only give away like a couple awards. I'm like, no, you're going full force. And I said, trust me, I was crazy enough. I put like 25 different applications in for people, because I was like, you know what, if I observe people all day long, trust me, I'm going to recognize people in every element that I can. And if we, and I said, I said, why do we have to always have dampers on things? Like, this is the mentality that I don't get with people, is why do we have to be limited? Why can't we have to say, well, you can only do, no. You know what, if somebody's done something, recognize them. If somebody, and I said, all it takes is recognizing a couple of people And guess what? That love and appreciation goes and expands. And then when the right people are acknowledged, because what they do with it, you know what they do with it? They go share it to the world and share that love, and then that love just keeps pouring and pouring, and then others are like, how did that love happen? I want some of that love, right?
Thank
but
you.
anyways, congratulations. I'm so excited for you. And I don't know if you got your award yet, but I hope you did.
I did. It's on my bookcase, actually. I'm looking for it because when I received it, I had won. First of all, I didn't know any of this was happening, and you weren't even on my radar at that time. So I was like, okay, I have an award. Okay. It was like a whole, like, what's happening? I don't understand. And I had to go and like research, and I asked my manager, Anna, I'm like, Anna, people get awards from TRREB? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. I really wasn't, I was not, I had my focus now, and I was just there. So I do appreciate like the recognition. I really do. And it makes me want to pay even more attention to what's going on. Exactly. No, and this is why I'm saying this had to happen. It had to happen with you. Like it just all kind of came together. And then just that one question I had, what is it like to be TRREB president? And I'm like, you know what? Oh my God, I'm going to go talk to Lisa right now. She knows. And I sent you that message. And this happened all very quickly. You know, mainly because
it was meant to happen. It was aligned, right? When everything is aligned, just like a real estate transaction, it goes smooth. The minute that you are trying to maneuver and minutia it all together, it's like, right? And when things are meant to happen, it's like that.
But thank you. Like, I'm so appreciative of this moment that we're having. Thank you so much. And we will
listen. I missed you. I don't even know you personally, but I'm like, you know, well, because you know what it is. We've done that podcast for Black History Month together, and so I feel like I intuitively I feel like I'm already. Well, we are all connected as souls, and I'm a believer of that. But I've had that opportunity, and then of course our few exchanges on Messenger, and here we are today, and just can't wait to see what the universe is going to give us next to do.
Yeah, actually,
what project?
I'm so curious to see where you're gonna go. Like now,
no, I didn't mean that. I meant we.
No, but I'm looking at you, Lisa. I'm looking at Lisa Patel. I'm like, oh, who's this firecracker, and where's she gonna go? I want to see. Maybe in the next federal election, I'll be checking off Lisa. I'm like, did you know this woman?
I have been practicing French because you sound like a lot of friends who are like, Patel, you know, you need to take over. And it's like, I don't know if that's where my soul wants to go. I said, you know, and I said, it's such a short time period in those roles to do a lot of work. And not that this one wasn't easy to, like, if you don't plan and prepare yourself, then the year will take you before you even get things done.
That's a very good point. Actually, that is, you mentioned it a little bit earlier, but without saying it explicitly, you started planning a year before you even got in. You knew what
I had to do because I knew that it was like a light switch. You get in and that light comes off right away, but you take your magnetism with you and keep going. And here's, like, I know I shouldn't say this, but I promised people when I got elected, when I got elected PE, I promised people that I would never change who I am, and that I would always stay who I am and true to who I am. And I have throughout this course, and I go into PP. Trust me, I'm going to be like the rock star PP that I don't know if they're going to accept me or not, but I don't care. I'm just going to like rock it out in every possible way and continue to promote our industry and realtors 100 times.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Thank you. I feel so blessed to have this opportunity with you. I really do. I wish you were here. I'd give you a hug.
Soon.
So I'm sending you one. Yes.
It's coming. It's coming.